It's finally time to say goodbye to Sunderland. So in today's episode we're going to do the end of season awards for the end of season 3, and then we're going to do a quick wrap up for anyone who's new joining us for the trip onwards to Leeds. We'll do a quick roundup of the entire series so far. That's the plan. Hit like and subscribe and follow us as we leave Sunderland and join Leeds. What's up guys, ChasingLamely here with what is essentially episode 46 of Sunderland Til I'm Sacked, but it is the last time we will see any Sunderland content on this channel for at least FM21. So let's go very quickly through our end of 2022 season review. That was harder to say than I thought it would be. We're going to start of course with the new signings. We'll go into this in more detail I think once we get to the main wrap up of the saves so far, but we'll start here at least. Just see who jumps out at us. So of course our star signing was Max O'Leary this season. He's been pretty much ever present in goal, done really well on a 7.05. Obviously I'm not too worried about these guys who've been in and out on loan because their stats don't really matter too much. Other big signings, Gideon Wan did very good for us this season, and so did Michael Hector. Liam Miller of course we brought in finally on a permanent, and he has continued doing well, and Marco Salah was also a good signing for us, so not too bad so far. Looking a little further down, of course, we signed Dion Sanderson. He's been with us since the start. He did very well this season. Kilian Ludwig, a bit disappointing, but he's done okay. Sepp Vandenberg didn't really play a lot, but did okay. Soldano, I mean, that was a waste of 7 million. And Rodell Richards, I didn't think did particularly well on his first appearance in the top flight for us. I mean, he's been with us for a year already, but he didn't really move the needle much. Jade Doyle-Hayes did okay as well for his first time in the Premier League, coming from St Mirren. Marcello, I mean, meh, basically, and I don't know who beyond that actually played. Bujaleb definitely didn't play. Ojo played 13 games and was okay. Diego Garcia, who's about to pop up once this thing speeds up. I don't know why it's being so slow today. Diego Garcia was utter garbage. He only played that many times because I had no one else to fill that position who was any better. Santi Comesaña I thought did better than a 6.6 all season, but he did have a few little dips in form, so I fully understand that. And for the rest of the list, Jake Clark-Salter, I mean, he was kind of there to develop and hasn't really. Pajot was okay when we used him, and the rest didn't play at all, so that is that. In terms of the players out, well, no one big. I said no one big. Andre Green went out for 40 million and George Bello went out for 30 million. So we made 70 million off Guangzhou Everande. So we'll take that. I mean, there were big losses for us. We probably could have used them. Jake Hesketh was a really good sale, I think, for 525,000. He wasn't developing at all, so made sense to move him on. Our Bennett Shimajli, he went on a free and we didn't really miss him. Same with Max Power, didn't miss those guys. Further down, just a bunch of youngsters moved on, essentially. Just a bunch of youngsters moved on. No one who was doing anything special for us. I don't think anyone's had a particularly special season since leaving us. I mean, actually, to be fair, Oliver Basie had a 7.4, but he only played one sub-appearance for Barnsley, and these guys have been doing quite well since they left, but they've gone to much weaker sides, so that's not overly surprising. Results-wise this season, I don't think it's been too badly. I mean, we were predicted to finish bottom of the table. We finished 17th. As you can see there, just avoiding relegation on the last day. Curtis Jones getting 14 goals for us with really good attendance as well, so not too bad. We of course also made our first appearance in Europe this year, got knocked out in the quarter-final by Valencia, which is not too bad. I mean, that was a decent run, beating Mulder. Sabatalo to Blitzy, we beat Mainz, to Blitzy again, Shakhtar Soligorsk as well, we managed to beat and draw in the group stage. Then we beat Feyenoord in the second knockout round. So again, not too bad, and again our attendance was pretty strong. Rodell Richards was our top scorer in that competition, which seems rare. The FA Cup just straight knocked out in the third round by Fulham, which was not really the one. The board understand we had a difficult draw. I wouldn't have called Fulham a difficult draw, but you know, I'll take it. And of course we were expected to reach the third round of the League Cup, and we got knocked out in the fourth round by Norwich City, having beaten Fulham and beaten Lincoln on the way there. Curtis Jones and Christian Sadie, who's a guy who I might try and take to Leeds because he's quite the high potential youngster. He may well come with us to Leeds. he's someone I've got half an eye on moving forward, so don't be surprised if he pops up in the transfer special on Tuesday. Moments to remember. What happened in the moments to remember? That's of course the big question. Well, of course that 5-0 win over Sabbatalo is our biggest win. Our 3-1 win over Newcastle in the local derby at St James's, quite a big deal. And our goal of the season was Curtis Jones' 60th minute goal against Sabbatalo, which sadly I still can't click there and show you, and I will probably forget. So, we've definitely put that episode on the channel. Go back and watch that. That's probably the best way to do that. Financially, it's been a really good season for us, I know that much. So we brought in 1.65 million in new sponsorship deals, including a 5-year deal worth 3.2. I don't know how that works, but either way, 91.5 million of broadcast revenue. We've brought in loads of corporate hospitality, competition prize money, and commercial and retail, and some merch sales. It's not showing me whose shirts were sold, which is weird, but that's fine. This was our lineup for the season for the most part. So it was O'Leary, Mengi, Hector, Williams, Sanderson and Salah, Doyle, Hayes, Comesaña, Garcia, Jones and Gidon. That's pretty much been our starting lineup for most of the season, except when we've had to use Miller or Richards up top. That's probably our best 11 this season. I'd agree with that for the most part. And of course our accolades. Well, fan player of the season was Curtis Jones. Young player of the season, obviously Curtis Jones. Signing of the season, Max O'Leary, no doubt in my mind about that. Goal of the season for Curtis Jones. Top goal scorer was Curtis Jones with 20 goals. Top assists was Curtis Jones with 10 goals. Player of the match awards, Curtis Jones with 10. Highest average rating, Curtis Jones with a 7.2. And George Dobson completed 35 passes per 90 minutes, which is, I don't think, terribly impressive, but we'll go with that. Competition awards, top goal scorer and young player of the year for the EFL. That was last year. Why is it showing me last year's? Who knows? Curious. Record breakers. Curtis Jones beat most player of the match awards in a season. Highest transfer fee received is the 40 million for Andre Green, but I do think he might be available if I want him at Leeds. And our youngest goal scorer was Christian Sadie, who scored just 4 days before his 16th birthday. So that should wrap up the end of season thing. We're going to move on now, and I'm going to go from the beginning. We're going to run through everything, and then, just get everyone caught up on the story so far. So our first season we were in League One, of course, and we finished second on 82 points, 13 points behind Hull, who went up as champions, but that doesn't really tell the whole story of the season, so we'll show you that in just a second. So that first season, things started off fairly well. We had a couple of good cup wins, some good cup runs as well, before getting knocked out of the League Cup by Manchester City 2-0. Took our first league loss in September, which wasn't too bad, at home to Peterborough. Then we lost heavily to Charlton. We carried on doing well in the EFL Trophy. Went on a big old green run here, and then after we went out of the FA Cup to Bristol Rovers, the brakes kind of went on our momentum a little bit. Things still looking good in the EFL Trophy, but no one cares about the EFL Trophy. Bunch of losses, really middling kind of form here. And I think this was around the point, I think this was around the point here where we started to get murmurings that we were going to get fired. At the time, I think we were sitting somewhere around 18th in the table. Got a few wins, started looking good again, then we took a bunch of losses, and I know for sure, because you can go back and check the episodes, somewhere around here, I think it was the Burton game, was where we got told we were in 5 games from saving our job. In fact, it must have been the Crew game we got told we were 5 games from saving our job, because I remember Swindon, I remember Portsmouth, and I think Wigan being part of that run. So it makes sense that was where we were told we had 5 games to save our job. But then that run of form, okay, we had this little patch at the end of April that wasn't great, but we went on just this run of all green form, really powered through, got ourselves promoted to the Championship first time out. That season our top scorer, I believe, I will check, was Colin Quainer. I was right, Colin Quainer was our top scorer this season, but to understand how Colin Quainer became our top scorer that season, let's have a quick look at that season's transfers. So that first season we did a lot of deals. The first player ever to come through the door for us was Alman Abdi. Abdi joined us after his really big career he'd had with Sheffield Wednesday, Watford, Udinese, Le Mans, Zurich. Swiss international, he's now retired to be a head of youth development. He was the first guy through the door. We then brought in Nicholas Bentner, because why would you bring in Lord Bentner? I think he's still somewhere. He's now a scout. He retired, I forgot he retired at the end of last season. And then A bunch of players. Calder Silva played a lot of games for us. Calder Silva was a really good signing for us that first season. We can see here, played 26 games, looked really good for us at left back. We sold him on to Oxford. Otherwise, this is where the sort of core of the team started forming for most of the run so far. Andre Green came in on a free after he was released by, I believe, Aston Villa. He had some really good performances for us over the years. Really good. I mean, just looked strong all the way through the League One and Championship campaigns. And then sold him to China for 40 million. Really good deal. Max Groom came in as our first choice goalkeeper, and he was not great, but we soon learned our lesson and got rid of him. Samuel Shashwa still with the club. Big signing, cost £120,000, from Atletico Baleares. From Tenerife. He was on loan the season before to Atletico Baleares, so don't ask, I have no idea. He stayed around for a bit. He's still with us. He went on loan last season to Orlando City and got himself some under-23 caps for the USA, and is now worth 14 million. He was really good business for us. But when I say the core of the squad as well, like Jack Clark came on loan that season from Spurs, Taylor Mengi, Curtis Jones, they're all still at the club. So is Leo Miller. He's now a permanent member of the team. Timothy Fosu-Mensah joined us that first season, left at us at the end of the season when his contract expired at United. We couldn't sign him. He joined Wolfsburg, and he's had a pretty decent run there. Nothing special. He's had a decent run there. Deschamps Bernard as well, still with the club, came in then as well. Derek Williams, who's become a really strong centre-back for us, came in at the end of that season, and he's been unbelievable for us. He's been really good for us. 63 appearances in Sunderland colours for us. He came in for nothing, and he's worth £7.5 million. He's done okay this season. He's done okay. He's done way better than I thought he would do. I say he came in for nothing. He had 275,000, but it's practically nothing. There's a bunch of youngsters came that have not really made an impact, but in terms of the outs that season as well, we sold Aidan McGeady, let him go to Minnesota in the MLS. He went for 96k, and it was not a bad move at all. Charlie White went for 87,000 to Kilmarnock. He's now back in England with Grimsby, and he's done absolutely nothing since leaving us. He's had a good season for Grimsby, admittedly, in League One, but he's done nothing of note. We also let Tom Flanagan go that season. He went to MK Dons. He's now with St Mirren. I don't regret letting him go. Nathan Dyer, like I said, he came at the start of that season and was gone shortly after the new year. He did nothing for us. Remy Matthews was the guy we sold to Kilmarnock. He's now with Portsmouth. He doesn't play for them. He's just with Portsmouth. Callum McFadzean as well. He was a guy I was more than happy to let go because he wasn't doing anything for us. I think he played once in the league under us. He's now playing for Dundalk, and that's probably his level. Danny Graham, I couldn't wait to get rid of him because he did nothing of use for us whatsoever. Had a season with Dundee, retired, and now coaches Arbroath. Will Grigg was not on fire, sold him to Luton for 69k. He's since retired. I don't know how he did whilst he was at Luton. He's had 30 games and 4 goals, which I think proves I was right to sell him. I'm not going to lie. Josh Scowen went for 180,000 to Nashville. He's currently worth $1 million. He's had a really good career actually for Nashville. 72 appearances, 6 goals, done really well there. And Chris Maguire as well was another guy I let go. Chris Maguire went to Kilmarnock. He is still there, still playing. He's got no pace anymore. He was quite good under me for that first season. I seem to remember. So I forgot how to speak English then. Had 13 appearances, but looked okay in all of them. He just never really fit into the system I was using at the time. And we sold Calder Silva at the end of that season because I had another left-back lined up to come in, which we'll talk about once we're done rounding up Season 2. So Season 2, we found ourselves winning the Championship and handily with 103 points, 5 points clear of West Ham, and I've got out to do maths, and 8 points clear of West Brom. So it was a close race at the top, but we've managed to win it there. And let's just run through the schedule. I'll show you how that season looked. It was pretty much non-stop steamrolling. So we started our campaign with a win against Brentford away, 4-2. It was the end of August, nearly a month later, but a lot of games later before we got our first loss against Hull City. A couple more losses happened in September, Reading and West Ham, but you can see there's a lot of green there. Most of that page is green. We go down, it's all green and yellow. We hit this poor run of form here where we went out of the FA Cup in the 4th round to Aston Villa. We lost to Manchester City in the second leg of the semi-final of the League Cup, but we won on penalties. We made it to the League Cup final. Again, you can watch these episodes on the channel. They were big games, they got shown. And then we lost to Forest, and it was looking pretty good from then on for the rest of the season. One more loss to West Ham. We beat Liverpool in the League Cup final. That's how we ended up in Europe this season. By this point here, the promotion was pretty much sewn up. We lost 6-2 to QPR, which is a big shocker for us. We lost 2-1 to Middlesbrough in the local derby, but things were done and dusted. We were up by then, and that was kind of the story of that season. In terms of transfers that season, the first goal we brought in was Jordi Hawula, who scored the goal that essentially got the League Cup final to the penalty shootout that won it for us. He spent this season on loan at Aberdeen. He's not been particularly impressive. He hasn't scored a goal in the league for us. He's scored a few goals in cups. He scored a goal in a cup. It was that one goal he scored was in the League Cup final against Liverpool, which is his story to tell the grandkids. We brought in Johnny Williams, Marcus Bettinelli, who was fantastic for us that season. Jake Hesketh, who looked like he had big potential, turned out to be not so good, got moved on. Dominic Ravan joined us from Villa. He's currently on loan at Salford, but he looked like he was going to develop quite nicely. He may still do. This season we brought Connor Wickham back because we had no strikers. Joel Pereira came in as a backup goalkeeper, and he's third choice now. He's on loan at Hull this season. He's had a really good year. I suspect the new manager will sell him on. That was when we first saw Rodell Richards. It was also the season we met George Bello, who has since departed us for that 30 million to Guangzhou Evergrande, showing us 22. There's some add-ons that haven't quite been activated yet. But for a guy I loaned in for 6k the first season, quite like the look of it. I was like, I'll spend 16.75 million on him quite happily. He played 13 more games for us, and then we more or less doubled our money on him, so I'm not too unhappy about that. Rolanda Aarons came in. We had to reloan Jack Clark after he got recalled and then for some reason sent back to us. Sepp Vandenberg came for 1.2. He's been quite good for us. He's played 6 games, but he's never looked particularly out of place. This was more towards the end of the season. It was the end of the season, the opening of the transfer window for this season, to be fair. Shea Ojo came in. Dion Sanderson was confirmed as a permanent signing. Same with Liam Miller, who'd been here all along. Fonte Daly-Campbell looks like he'll develop. Max O'Leary has become our first choice keeper. Michael Hector is pretty much the first name on the team sheet at the back. A bunch of youngsters came in as well, and you can see there that when we confirm the signings of Richards and Bello as as permanent signings for the club. And of course Jake Doyle-Hayes, who we already know about from this season. That season though, we also sold Aidan O'Brien to Rotherham for 500k. He's still there. His value has dropped. He's about to run out of contract. He's not wanted by anyone particularly special. He's had a pretty pants season in League One, so I don't regret letting him go whatsoever, to be completely honest. Other big sales were Bailey Wright. He went out in July early on this season. We did quite well to get good money for him. 700,000. He's worth 900,000 now. He's done okay in the MLS, but he was never really good enough for us. Lee Burge had been my first choice towards the end of the League One campaign. We sold him on to Luton. Didn't play for them. They sold him on to Wimbledon. Apparently, there you go. That's an ex-player report. We also sold Max Grün to Fortuna Dusseldorf, which is why I ended up bringing in those two keepers at the beginning of the Championship season. We let Colin Quainer go. I don't think I mentioned Colin Quainer when I said I would. So Colin Quainer, I signed on a free, literally more or less as soon as we took over, because there were no strikers in the squad. There were absolutely no strikers in the squad that were ever going to score a goal. I took a punt on Colin Quainer, who I know had quite a rough time of things at Huddersfield. They spent 450,000 on him. He scored 6 goals for them, 2 goals for them, 4 on loan to Ipswich, and they just kind of got rid. And he came up. He looked decent at the time. I don't think his stats will be anywhere near as good as they were. He looked decent at the time to be our first choice striker when we signed him in League One. And so we unleashed him. We unleashed him up top, and 18 goals out of 35 games, over a goal a game. Sorry, over a goal every other game. And that's the most goals he's ever scored in his league career. He hasn't scored a single goal since he left us. So, I think we can safely say we got the best possible out of Colin Quainer. And aside from that, for Sean Nerfville, I brought him on loan first season, let go. He was not very good. Jordan Willis joined Luton. He's still there. He's going to leave at the end of this season because he's done nothing for them in the Championship. So that's a good 125k we've made there. Pretty strong in transfers in general for the Championship season. But of course, now the big one, our first season in the Premier League. Well, you've obviously seen how that turned out but we're going to run very quickly through just the schedule, because you know the league table. So schedule-wise, this season we have started... I've picked the wrong season. There we go. Schedule-wise this season, we started off with a 4-1 loss to West Ham. I'm going to learn to read one day. 4-1 loss to West Ham, and at that point, I think I said in the episode, like, things were looking a bit sketchy. We then handed Leeds a 3-0 defeat, which seems somewhat ironic now. And then we went on the kind of cup run. The cup run started, but the league form, it was awful. I mean, if I just filter out all the things that are not Premier League games here, you'll see just how bad this league form was. We got one win between the beginning of the season at the end of July and that win against Arsenal at the end of October. So we went 3 months and we picked up 7 points. Obviously got that win against Newcastle. Weird December because of the World Cup. We lost to Fulham in the league, lost to Everton, beat Burnley, drew with Brighton, beat Leeds 3-0 again. They're going to hate me at Ellen Road for that. Lost to West Ham, but you see the form started picking up again a little bit, and then went on this awful month. We played Spurs, Chelsea, Southampton United and Liverpool, 15 points available, and we picked up 3 and shipped a lot of goals. Similar story for the rest of the season. It's amazing we've stayed up with this few wins, to be honest. And we did just stay up on the last day of the season. Another win of Sheffield United, a win over West Brom. I mean, they were few and far between. I mean, that's from the beginning of January to the end of the season. That's what? 8 wins. And that win on the last day of the season was what kept us up. There's 8 wins and 2 draws. It's not a great return on points, but that's kind of been the story of the save so far. So, I guess there's only one thing for us to do. We're going to go and click through. I say we. I won't make you watch me click through. We're going to go, carry on, and then we'll come back in just a second, ready to take our place, managing Leeds United. So before we finally click through, I just remembered I should show you this. We've just had the last few bits of cash through from the end of season windfalls, and we've left Sunderland with £98 million in the bank. For the record, when we joined, there was £1.79 million in the bank, and we've been in the red more than once, but we've managed to make that money, so that's good. But still, let's click through. And here we are, we've arrived at Leeds United. Let's go through this. It's a nice handover to the new part of the series. In a move which is sure to spark plenty of heated debate, ChasingLamely has left Sunderland to join divisional rivals Leeds United. Questions will be raised as to why Lamely made the decision to take up a different job within the same division, but he will face pressure to bring immediate success to Ellen Road given his former employers and previous standing. Some factions of the media had been touting Lamely as a favourite for the job all along, and his appointment has created much discussion around the club. Sunderland will now be looking for a new manager. Sunderland will be paid £1.3 million in compensation for Lamely, which means they've now got £100 million in the bank. There you go, that's fun. A bunch of our staff have joined us from Sunderland because I took most of the best staff we had and I let a bunch. The staff that was here was appalling. The staff that was here when I was offered the job was appalling. I've got a reputation for signing players under the age of 23 and I appear to be a great fit for the club's current vision at Ellen Road. We won the Sky Bet Championship with Sunderland in 2022 and will now be afforded the chance to enhance his reputation by bringing success to the new club. Leeds finished 15th in the Premier League last season. They were predicted to finish 9th, so let's have a quick look, see what's happening here before we wrap up the episode. So this is the history in-game of Leeds United. We have a director of football, Victor Orta, who I remember was quite good. He was, that's why I kept him. I wasn't going to let that guy go, and you can probably see why. In terms of the history, of course, founded in 1919, Leeds are a professional club currently playing in the Premier League. Leeds will be looking to build on their mid-table finish in the Premier League last season. We absolutely will. The club play their home games at Ellen Road and possess excellent training in youth facilities, which is a big attraction to coming here. The club's training ground is Thorpe Arch, and the Leeds reserve team play at Thorpe Arch. The club has a good academy coaching and average youth recruitment network. The club retains a fierce rival with Manchester United, Galatasaray, Spor Kulübü and Chelsea. If you don't know about the Leeds Galatasaray rivalry, I suggest you Google it. There's a reason for this. As a club which enjoyed its best spell of success during the 70s and their last competition win coming as recently as 2020, which I don't know what that was. Was it an FA Cup? Was it a League Cup? Was it a thing? It was the Sky Bet Champ. Of course it was. I knew that. Leeds are a club with growing history. Leeds finished runners-up in the Champions League in 1975, won the top division in 69, 74 and 92. I remember that very well. And a 5-time runners-up, finished runners-up in the Cup Winners' Cup in 73, won the FA Cup in 72. I don't remember those, you cheeky gits. And finished second best 3 further times, so that's pretty good. In terms of the team we're taking over, there's some transfer obligations. So one of the guys coming in is Jeremias Perez-Tica, an Argentine striker who looks actually not bad. I can make him work for sure. And Ryan Edmondson is leaving to join Celtic. Is he going to be a big loss? Probably not. I think that's probably going to be okay. There's a few players on loan. We've got Oliver Skipp on loan from Spurs, and we know he's a pretty strong player, so I might try and extend his loan if I can. Bunch of players on loan out. Most important one, I think, for purposes of next season, is going to be Sergio Cordova, who's on loan at San Jose Earthquakes, who again looks like a player I can do really well with, because I do well with strikers with pace, and that my friends is a striker with pace. I think I can make things happen for him. Otherwise, no one out that's going to be missed on loan. Their best starting lineup, apparently they like the same formation I've been using. I don't know if that's been picked because that's what I've been using at Sunderland, or if that's genuinely the best formation they have. But I'm quite happy to see how that works. So we've got Meslier in goal, Vober, the guy who I've got to sell, Koch, because I have to be careful how I say that name on YouTube, or I might get thrown off. To be fair, he doesn't have the pace I like in a defender, so he may well go anyway. Zhedvaj as well, Tin Zhedvaj, the Croatian international. He'll probably stick around because we like him. Josimir Herrera, which Herrera is this one. Marcelo Herrera, who used to play for New York and San Lorenzo, another Argentine. Okay, we can work with that. And Josimir, I'm hoping he's Uruguayan. I was hoping he'd be Brazilian, but he's got some good pace. If he can cross and he can create, I think we'll find a place for him. We've of course got Calvin Phillips in the midfield. Rodrigo we have as the attacking midfielder. He's obviously been there in real life. He's not too bad a player. Spanish international, but I think 32 I might move him on. We've got Tyler Roberts up top. Tyler Roberts has still got some legs left in him. I might see if I can make him a little bit quicker. I remember when we looked at the club before we signed, one thing I noticed was that there wasn't much up top to get excited about, but this guy maybe. I mean, most of the strikers I remember as well are also wingers rather than strikers. But this guy might have goals in him. This guy may have some goals in him, so we'll keep an eye out for him. That's good to know. And this is the vision we have to work towards for the future, so this is worth us knowing now. We've got to play entertaining football and attacking football. These are not things I'm known for doing. I like to play a counter-attacking game, so hopefully that will appease them. Entertaining football tends to come with counter-attacking, so that should be okay. Developing young players, I don't mind doing that. Signing players in 23 for the first team, I mean, it's not something we do immediately because this team needs an overhaul. But, we'll make it work, and making the most of set pieces, not a problem at all. For the ongoing plan, grow the club's reputation, goes without saying. That's always the plan. Sign young players to develop for profit, no problem with that. What within the wage budget, cool. Sign players to sell for a profit. This is telling me there's financial issues here I didn't know about. And minimum 3-year contracts for first team players at the end of next season. They want us to finish mid-table in the Premier League, which I don't think will be too difficult. So I'm not going to worry about that too much because we're going to do that for sure off camera. And here we are at Leeds United. Let's see just quickly before we wrap up what we've got to spend. £7 million. And there's not a lot of wiggle room in that wage budget. I'm going to be wheeling and dealing in the window. So join me on Tuesday for my wheeling and dealing in the window before the final time with the red and white stripes on the screen, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I have, as always, been Chasing Lamely, and you can find me on the socials below. I'm on Insta, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Patreon at Chasing Lamely. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Magic Graphic will remind you to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notifications, all notifications, because that will tell you immediately when that first episode with Leeds goes up. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. I have, as always, been Chasing Lamely, and I'll see you all very soon. Have a good one.